It's Ash from Super Videos back for another video for Season 8 of The Walking Dead. In this video we're going to be taking a look at whether or not it's possible for Negan and the Saviors to have many more outposts than we have seen so far. So in order to do that, we have to kind of look at the surroundings, look at all of the communities that we know of so far. What I actually went ahead and did is kind of put out all of the communities we know of so far in a map and kind of put things together to see whether it's possible for there to be more outposts and where those outposts could be. So if we take the sanctuary as the central community in this map, we can kind of assume that Negan and the Saviors are basically trying to control all of the communities with like a big circle being around the sanctuary, showing, how far Negan and the Saviors go in order to look for these communities and find them. So let's assume that this blue line circle represents an area where inside Negan and the Saviors try to control all of the communities. Then we know that Negan and the Saviors did not come upon Rick and the others and Alexandria until recently. So we know that Alexandria has to be kind of outside of this boundary that's around the sanctuary for Negan and the Savior to kind of have outposts and be in order to control the communities inside. Then we also know that the sanctuary did not know anything about the junkyard community. So we can assume that the junkyard community is outside this boundary as well. And also, since the boat area is very close to the junkyard, we can kind of say that those are very close together. And since Rick and the others went to the junkyard community and the boat area from Alexandria, and it wasn't that far away, then we can probably assume that the junkyard community is somewhere where I have it mapped, and it's pretty close to Alexandria, but outside the boundary of where the sanctuary is located. Then the other location is the kingdom. Obviously, the kingdom must be inside the perimeter that the sanctuary has, because the sanctuary is controlling the kingdom. Now, the other community that we know of is the hilltop, and again, the hilltop has to be inside the boundary as well for the sanctuary to have control over it. Now, we do know that Alexandria is relatively close to the hilltop, but very far away from the kingdom. So we can assume that the hilltop is somewhere in between Alexandria and the kingdom. And then looking at the first outpost that we saw, this was obviously back in season 6, the satellite station or the satellite outpost that they went in and eliminated all of the saviors from. Now what we know is that the satellite outpost was the outpost that was dealing with the hilltop. When they attacked the satellite outpost, they went from Alexandria to the outpost, and it didn't seem like it was far away either. So we can assume that the satellite outpost is probably somewhere close to the edge of the outline that we have. So then the other thing we know is that Simon, Negan's right-hand man, he has an outpost as well. And he was the one that was dealing with another community, the library community, that we saw at the end of season 6. If you remember, the person that was hanged by the Saviors, who we saw as a walker in the premiere of season 7 as well, was part of the library community, and he was the last survivor. So killing him meant that the library community was destroyed as well. So then that left Simon's outpost free. And since the satellite outpost was eliminated, then Simon was put in charge of dealing with the hilltop. And we can assume that Simon's outpost is probably not that close to the hilltop, but it's close enough. And we also know that Jesus and Carl went from the sanctuary to the hilltop. So we know that the hilltop is probably not that far away from the hilltop either. So the map would probably look something like what I have here. Now the last outpost is Gavin's outpost. So obviously Gavin is the lead savior that's dealing with the kingdom. Gavin has his own outpost as well. So that means that Simon has an outpost, Gavin has an outpost, there was another satellite outpost that was eliminated, and also there was another outpost as well, or some sort of location. If you remember, when Carol and Maggie were taken by the Saviors, they were taken to some other location. We don't know if that was another outpost or just a secondary location, but that's also something that we need to keep in mind. Now, the other community that comes into play is Oceanside. Now, we do know that the members of the Oceanside ran away from whatever community they were a part of, which there's speculations that it might be the library community or the camp. Putting that aside, we do know that they basically ran away from the Saviors. Now, they have not been found by the Saviors yet, which means that they're probably outside of this kind of outline as well. We also do know that Heath and Tara went to the ocean side, or went towards the ocean side from the satellite outpost. So we know those two have to be kind of close as well. But we also know that Alexandria is very, very far away from the ocean side because it took Tara a couple days to get back to Alexandria from Oceanside. But that being said, that means that Oceanside has to be outside of this boundary that I discussed. But it has to be somewhere close enough to Alexandria so that people going to Oceanside don't have to cross the sanctuary or any of the other communities. The overall map would look something like the one I have here. Now, just looking at the outposts, so we have the sanctuary in the middle, we have Gavin's outpost, we have Simon's outpost, we have the satellite outpost, which was eliminated. So that means that there is more room. Now, in the format that I have here, it's possible that there's an outpost to the east of the sanctuary. To the west is one, to the north is one, to the south is one. So maybe there's another one to the east. So maybe that's the structure. There's one in each direction, one to the north, one to the south, one to the west, and one to the east. And perhaps many, many other, maybe smaller outposts in the middle there. But in terms of the communities where they're located and the outposts, we can see that there's probably more outposts out there. And we may end up seeing some of these outposts coming up in Season 8. But I want to know your opinions about what I just discussed, about all of these communities that we know of so far, where they are with relation to one another, and also about these outposts that exist, and whether you think that there is probably more outposts that are out there, and we're probably going to get to see them later on in Season 8. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video.